in the university sometime or working from home?
Yes. So you're working with CSIRO, right?
It's CSIR. It's similar sounding than CSIRO in Australia, but it's Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, a national body of scientific and industrial research.
Okay.
We do also have some academics with the, by which the students are with us and with you also, which is ACSR, another institution by itself. So we have joint dual roles basically, both as a scientist as well as faculty professors, and we have students and research scholars.
Okay. Yeah, similar to the CSIRO, I think, right? You work for the government, for industry, and for teaching as well, right?
Oh yeah, okay, yes, in that sense, yes. So we have a separate body for academics, but we have a joint working.
Oh, okay.
So ACSR provides the degrees to the students.
I see.
And CSR remains the original research body. So, so there's a nice understanding between the two.
Thank you.
So are we in time, Rishabh, Anupama? Are we fine, or we go ahead with chit chatting?
Yes, sir. We can start in 2 minutes.
Okay.
So Anupama will first introduce you, and then you can take over the session.
All right. I think I may around 1 hour. So.
Okay.
Yeah, Anupama will formally invite.
Okay. Thank you.
So greetings to all global community, all participants from all over India and abroad. So I welcome you to the day 3 of IEEE Virtual Colloquium 2020 themed on cybersecurity. So I'm here to extend my gracious welcome to this event. And today, before we start, I would like to invite our IEEE branch counselor, Dr. H.K. Sildana, for a welcome address.
Thank you, Anupama, and welcome Professor Shui and all the delegates attending this session, the third session on cybersecurity. And we have none other than Professor Shui who would talk about the topic already known to you. And as I see, he has a renowned scholarship and research citations under his name. And if you go through, you will be mesmerized that we have the right person to talk to us and learn from him. So research scholars and other students, even faculty, and all of us probably would learn a lot from his sharing. And over to Anupama to formally invite him and request him for presentation and also share his CV. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. So we have with us Professor Shui, who is currently working as a professor of School of Computer Science at University of Technology, Sydney, Australia. So Dr. Yu's research interests include security, privacy, networking, big data, and mathematical modeling. So he has published 2 monographs and edited 2 books and more than 300 technical papers, including top journals and top conferences. And he has also initiated the research field of networking for big data in 2013, and his H index is 40. Dr. Yu has also actively served as in various research communities in different roles. He is currently serving as the editorial board of IEEE Communication Surveys and Tutorials, IEEE Communication Magazine, IEEE Internet of Things Journal, IEEE Communication Letters, IEEE Access, and IEEE Transactions on Computational Social Systems. He is also a distinguished lecturer at IEEE Communication Society. So with this brief intro, I welcome you, sir, for your talk. Yes, over to you, sir.
My dear Indian friends, thanks for Dr. Harish, Dr. Rishaba, and beautiful Anupama's introduction. I'm honored to be here to share our understanding, our work in the cybersecurity and the privacy area. Hopefully, we can create some shared ideas to do some collaboration. Sometimes, yeah, if you want to visit us, you are more than welcome. First of all, I do a little bit advertisement. University called UTS. It is ranked world 133 by QS this year, and our school. School of Computer Science is ranked worldwide 13th position by ARWU this year. You may know Sydney is the biggest city in Australia. We welcome all outstanding students and young colleagues to visit us. By the way, I had very excellent Indian students before when I was working in Deakin. He graduated, now working as a lecturer of cybersecurity at Deakin University. Kashif Sood, he's from India. As Anupama introduced, I worked a few editorial boards. Okay, we're back to the business. In this talk, I want to first conduct an introduction and then 3 parts of cybersecurity, including detection, mitigation, traceback, and at the end, I want to introduce our recent work on big data privacy. The point of this talk, 3 points. Cybersecurity is a new battleground compared with cryptography methods. Second, cybersecurity is a case-by-case domain. So for each attack, you can only have one solution, and this solution is usually valid for this attack only. You just like in the world, one medicine cannot cure all the problems, right? So cybersecurity is a case-by-case research field. As cybersecurity is a new battleground, so we do need tools for the domain. Where can we find the new tools? One method is modify the old tools, and another way is to invent new tools. That's the point of this talk, right? Cyberspace, this is the outlook of cyberspace. So it is a big mess. So you cannot use a mathematical way to represent it at this moment. So what's the feature of cyberspace? Not clear yet. There are many questions than answers in cyberspace. Now cyberspace has become a haven for intelligent criminals. You may ask why so many cyber attacks or cyber crimes. The reason is quite simple, because in the cyberspace, if the hackers, they have extraordinary financial or political reward. Right, extraordinary financial or political reward. Another advantage for them is easy to organize attacks. The third advantage for hackers is hard to be caught, right? For example, the hackers is in one country, then the victim is in another country. Usually, it's not easy to, for example, fly from America to India to do the law, to do the how to say, to find the hackers and bring them into justice, right? So in a simple way, the cyberspace has become a haven for intelligent criminals. Then why cyberspace becomes a haven? One reason is because the original design of the internet, we know that the ARPANET, it was designed for not for public. It was designed for a private network, but later on becomes the internet. Then the original design, they didn't take care of security, right? So once it becomes the public network in the 1990s, then we have a lot of work on it, try to make it secure. That's the fundamental reason is the original design of the internet. Second reason is we'll end for all participants 5 minutes. Oh, why? Okay, I got a prompt in say the meeting will end in 5 minutes. Maybe someone can look after it. Thank you. The second reason is we have limited understanding of cyberspace, as we showed before, right? Cyberspace is a great mess. The third reason is we have shallow understanding of hackers, right? Hackers are criminals, but we do not have sufficient understanding about them. So cybersecurity now is a big deal. We can see from time to time, you can see the attacks. For example, okay. I got a hint to say the meeting will finish in 5 minutes. Can anyone help? Okay, in this talk, we will use DDoS as an example to show the aspects of cyber attack and defense.
Sir, it is not like that. There will be time. I don't know why the message is appearing on your end.
Okay, I just ignore it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thanks. Because we worked on DDoS for maybe around 10 years. We published a lot of papers on DDoS. So I will use it as an example to explain the situations in cybersecurity. Okay. I believe you all know this animal. This animal is called a kangaroo. It is a unique animal in Australia. So when the European people, the first time when they arrived Australia, they see this unique animal. They don't know the name. They asked they use English to asked the original people, say, what's the name of the animal? Obviously, the original people, they cannot speak English. They answered kangaroo. Then this animal's name becomes kangaroo. But do you know what's the real meaning of kangaroo in Aboriginal language? The kangaroo in their language means I don't know, right? So this animal in their Aboriginal language should be I don't know. Okay. So my point is, in the cyberspace, there's a lot of things we think we are right, but actually maybe we get the wrong solution or the wrong understanding. So in cybersecurity, the current problems, who, how, where. Who are the bad guys? How did they attack us? Where are they? Right. Of course, if you want more, you can have other questions like when will they attack? What, right? And why? And so in this talk, we only focus on these three questions. Who are they? How can we counterattack? Okay, and where are they? We use our research on attack and defense, mainly in the distributed denial of service, that's called DDoS, as an example to study the landscape of cybersecurity. In this cybersecurity, there are three categories. One, detection. Second, mitigation. And the third, traceback. I will introduce our work in these three categories to give you some information about cybersecurity. Of course, I believe some students may not very clear about DDoS, so I do a short explanation. What is distributed denial of service attack? The goal is to make a service unusable or degraded. For example, you are running an e-commerce website, then your opponent, they may want to make your website not available for customers to destroy your business, right? That's the goal. They can use distributed denial of service. How do they achieve this goal? They can overload your server or overload your router or overload your network bandwidth. Anyway, the final goal of attackers is to make your service unavailable. So what they did, usually the attacker, they used a master computer, for example, compromised master computer, and then this master computer to scan the whole internet, find a lot of slavers, okay, and install software on the slavers. Once someone paid them money, then or they identified the victim, the attacker will send the slavers a command, say what time you guys all say ping or send nonsense message to the victim to make the service not available. That's the basic story. How do the attackers organize the DDoS attacks? The first DDoS attack appeared in the early February of year 2000. At that time, Yahoo's router was attacked by 1 gigabyte per second ping packet to make the Yahoo's router serve the legitimate users properly. So that's the first case of DDoS. In year 2012, the attack strength becomes 70G level, 70 gigabytes per second. Okay, that's the introduction. For the second part, I want to introduce our work about cybersecurity. How can we detect them, detect the attackers? So the essential issue in detection is hackers try their best to hide them. The crime, just like the physical criminals, they try to protect themselves, right? We need to understand our opponent. Unfortunately, we do not have sufficient knowledge about attackers. We did do the detection. We do need unique features to do the detection. there seems no one solution for all problems, as we mentioned before, right? So in terms of detection, we did one work. As shown here, we published a paper at IEEE TKDE. It is a very good venue. The title is Malware Propagation in Large-Scale Networks. In this work, we found that the malware distribution in large network, the pattern is it is at the earliest, the distribution of malware is exponential distribution. And then at the final stage, the distribution converges to power law distribution. So that's our main finding in this 2015 paper. I just skipped the detail. I show you the methodology, how we did this. So the lessons we learned from this work, we found that we need to improve the older tools, even invent new tools for detection. Because the traditional way of detection is to use the epidemic theory. But the epidemic theory is a one-layer theory. It's not suitable for the internet architecture. So what we did is we extended the flat one-layer epidemic model to two-layer to better model the malware propagation. So we have theoretical conclusions. We also have a global data set. The data set confirmed our theoretical findings. So that's the work we did in malware distribution. Another work we did in detection is you see hackers are exhausting their energy to fly under the radar. They try to mimic legitimate behavior to disable our detections. So the bad guys, they mimic the legitimate network behavior, try to fly under the radar. For example, DDoS attack versus flash cloud. We know DDoS attack, as I introduced a few slides before. So flash cloud is a legitimate phenomenon. For example, there's a breaking news happens, then a lot of people will check the news website, right? So at that time, for example, this is a news website. There's hundreds, thousands, or 10,000s of users. They will check the news website. Then the phenomenon looks exactly the same as DDoS attacks. So these two events, from the victim side, the phenomenons are the same. So how can you discriminate DDoS attacks from flash cloud? DDoS attacks, what we don't want. Flash cloud, it is good for the news website, right? So now the question is, how can we discriminate them, separate them? Well, it's not an easy job. It is hard to deal with mimicking attack, right? The resources, why we can do this in 2012, we published at TVDS called Eliminating DDoS Attacks from Flash Cloud using flow correlation coefficient. Why we can do this? Because we found a factor, someone else found this factor that the hackers, the resources that hackers have usually limited, right? It is critical to find the feature to differentiate them. The factor, the essential factor here is the active boot or active computers of a botnet are around 1K. and legitimate computers of a flash cloud, usually around 10K concurrent users. That means if a hacker wants to use a botnet to mimic the behavior of a legitimate flash cloud, then he has to use one computer to mimic the work of 10 legitimate computers. In this way, okay, how to do it? The details you can please refer to this paper. We find that this factor, and then use this factor, we used second order statistics to differentiate mimicking attacks and the flash cloud. So if you see the red ones are the attack features, the blue ones are the flash cloud. So if you use the first order statistics, that means average, both of them, the average is 500. You cannot discriminate them. But if you use the second order statistics, then you can separate them successfully. Okay, that's the first category, detection. Of course, there's a lot of different attacks. There's a lot of effective detections. So we only mentioned 2 of them. I present 2 of our previous works, try to give you some understanding about the detection. For mitigation, if the hackers attack your website, how can you deal with it, right? So mitigation is important for counter attacks. In order to do this, you need to know what are the critical factors in mitigation. Another question is it possible? If it is possible, is it affordable, right? Then how to implement mitigation if it is possible? That's our questions to answer in terms of mitigation. The first question we want to make it clear is what's the essential factors in cyber battle? In this paper we published in 2015, we published on TC called Fool Me If You Can, Mimicking Attacks and Anti-Attacks in Cyberspace. In this paper, we have this conclusion. The essential factors in cyber battle, it is a computation of resources. So the attackers and the defenders, they are the winner is the party who has relatively more resources than the other party. No matter you are a good guy or bad guy, if you have sufficient resource than your opponent, then you will win the game in the cyber battle, right? That's our finding or conclusion in this paper. If you want to win the game in the cyber battle, you have to have relatively more resources than your opponents. Following the previous finding, at that time, I mean in 2014 or 2013, a lot of people move their services. I know India is very good at information technology. I believe you may also have a lot of services running in the cloud. For a single ISP, we cannot defeat DDoS attacks. However, when we move our services to cloud, can we beat DDoS attacks in cloud or not? Our answer is yes, we can in cloud. In cloud, we can beat DDoS attacks. The story is simple. So this is a normal situation. Traditional ISP. You have legitimate users, you have a queue, you have a IPS called intrusion prevention system, right? You have a server. But if in DDoS case, there's a lot of attackers, so your IPS is overloaded, you cannot, then your service is denied, right? But in the cloud city, we can clone IPS on the fly. If you have a lot of attacks, I can clone IPS and more to deal with your attackers. When your attack is over, then we can release the extra IPS back to the cloud. Our strategy published in 2014 on TPDS, and the strategy has been adopted by Amazon. If you are interested, please see Amazon white paper 2016. They give it a beautiful name called auto scale, right? The strategy they used is the strategy we published in this 2014 paper. Traceback. Finding the attack sources or hacker are the critical solution to remove threats, right? If the attacker is always there, then they will change different strategies to allowing you to bother you, right? So it is hard. It is very important to find who are the bad guys, where are they, and then to remove them, right? However, it is hard in the non-cooperative environment of the internet. In the internet environment, the ISPs or different countries, they are not cooperative. So it's hard to find to do the traceback, right? And also in the current situation, it is hard in the heterogeneous complex systems. Now, a lot of people using mobile phone to access the web services, to access the internet. So hackers, they can use mobile phone to go through the communication networks and then connect it to the internet. So make it even harder to trace back. So we did, this is actually our first work on DDoS, aspect. Traceback DDoS attacks using entropy variation, published in IEEE TPDS in 2011 with my former colleague Robin Dawes. He was from India, now a professor in Deakin University, my former colleague. So the traceback, the mainstream at that time, 2011, the mainstream of traceback is packet marking, but it's suffered a scalability problem and therefore not feasible. Right? So the traceback at that time, the popular traceback method called packet marking. They mark the packet. We invent a new method called flow entropy based traceback method. We do not use the packet marking mechanism. So it is a new methodology besides packet marking. But I have to agree. I have to confess, should I say, this method is hard to implement in the internet environment because it needs collaboration between ISPs. Okay, the basic idea is we observe the change of the variation of the entropy of the attack flows, and then use a pushback method, and all the ISPs they collaborate with each other, then we can identify where the attack packet come from, which ISP, right? So if you go through different countries or different ISPs, they may not collaborative with you. So you cannot do this kind of traceback. That work was published in 2011. So we found that we have to find an effective way to do the traceback. So in 2016, we find another way and published the result on IEEE-TC, a feasible IP traceback framework through dynamic deterministic packet marking. The trick we used is we used the limited resource in different space, in different time to solve the scalability problem of the packet marking mechanisms and then solve the problem. Right? This work was published in 2016. So far, attract some attention, but not as good as we expected. And I'm also waiting to see if there is, for example, Amazon or similar companies, they will use our method or not. Okay, let's see. In terms of traceback, there is another big area called attack source traceback in social networks. You know, nowadays a lot of people depends on social networks to receive information. The story is said once there was a bombing at the White House, then someone released a message in Facebook, Twitter to say Obama was dead because of the bombing. Then the stock market of America drops, and then after a few hours, then White House confirmed that it is a rumor. Then the stock market goes up, right? During these a few hours, the hackers, they buy a lot of shares, and then when the shares come back, they sell it. They got a lot of financial reward. So now the problem is we want to know who is the guy in the social network. They created, distributed this kind of drama, right? So we need to do the traceback in the social network. This work is done by my former student. We published in 2015. How can we do the traceback? If you are interested, please refer to the paper here. The last part I want to share with you is our work on privacy in the big data era. Now, privacy is a new critical issue. You see the European GDP, a lot of countries, they have different regulations or even laws to protect people's privacy. For example, now ongoing COVID-19 case, the Australian government has the APP, ask people to download. Then if you contact someone with you, he or she got the coronavirus, then you will be noticed, right? So but there is a big concern. Not everyone downloaded the APP because people are concerned about their privacy, right? If I download the APP, the government, they know everywhere, anytime, where am I? So not everyone install the APP. So anyway, my point is privacy now is a big problem. The Science magazine in 2014, they had a special section called Big Data, Big Problem. And then about 6 months later, they organized another special section called the end of privacy in big data era. There, they pointed out that the privacy is a big problem in the big data era. What's the current situation of our privacy study? A lot of people jumped in this area, including us. But the current situation just like this, like the 6 blind men and an elephant. If you this guy, he said the elephant is a wall. This guy said the elephant is like a fan, whatever, right? So why my point is, now researchers, we only understand the privacy, or we understand the elephant partially correct. So we do not have a correct understanding. That's the reason sometimes Andrew says this, Bob says that, so we cannot agree with each other. The reason is we do not understand the studied object clearly. For the privacy research, currently, based on my understanding, we have 2 directions. One is this direction called, I call it data clustering. For example, K anonymity, L diversity, T closeness. This direction is an engineering-oriented direction. It can be used in practice to protect our privacy to some level. However, this kind of methods, they do not have a good theoretical foundation, so it's not reliable. On the other hand, we do have a theoretical tool called differential privacy, but this method is only effective in statistics information retrieval. So there's a lot of areas in privacy. Differential privacy cannot solve it. So we started to do privacy research since 2015. So in 2016, I prepared a paper published on IEEE Access. It is an open access journal. The title is Big Privacy Challenges and Opportunities in Privacy Study in the Age of Big Data. So if you want to do privacy research, I humbly request you to have a look of this paper. Hopefully it is helpful for you. If you have any feedbacks, please send an email to me. Thank you. For the privacy research, currently, what are the hot topics? The first hot topic is called location privacy. If I come to a restaurant, I don't want other people know I went to that luxury restaurant, right? Or I went to hospital, I don't want people to know I went to hospital because they may think I am sick, right? So I don't want them to know. So that's called location privacy. This topic has been researched extensively. I believe the peak of the location privacy is gone. So now another hot topic is personalized privacy. Currently, all the privacy solutions, for example, differential privacy, they have an assumption. They assume everyone has the same requirement of privacy. Obviously, it's not true, right? The movie stars, they have higher privacy requirement. For a student, your privacy is very low, right? As a professor, same thing. So, but now we do not have a personalized privacy tool for people to use. So now it is a good area to do. It's called a personalized privacy. Okay. Of course, in recent years, AI is very hot, right? AI. Then how can we use AI for privacy, or how can we protect privacy in AI is very, very, very hot. We have a framework called a federated learning framework that is designed for privacy data mining. Okay, I believe you know it. I introduce a little bit of work of our work on personalized privacy. What we did is we find the social distance among publisher and inquirer, respectively, and then decide the level of noise in differential privacy. Differential privacy, the strategy is to add noise to the for your information retrieval, right? So then if Alice and Bob, they are very close, then we add less noise. If Bob and Chris, they are not that close, we add more noise to protect the privacy of Bob. So what we did is, the core we did is to measure the distance of the pairs. How do you measure the closeness of A and B, B and C, right? Of course, there is some interesting question to answer. For example, is BA equals AB? Sometimes Bob thinks he's a good friend of Alice. Maybe Alice doesn't think Bob is a good friend of her, right? Another question is BA greater than BC, right? Sometimes very subjective. So our work in the past few years on personalized privacy, we focus on measure the distance, but I reflect the strategy. I found that this is not the core of the personalized privacy, right? You should research on privacy itself rather than measure the distance among the pairs. Okay. If you are interested, we can work on this together. Okay, if you want to solve the new problem, you do need the tools. So based on my understanding, currently the big industry players, for example, Google, Amazon, when they do the privacy protection, the common tool they use is cryptography. Still use cryptography. Of course, AI is another effective tool, and differential privacy is the only tool invented for privacy only. So currently, the popular tools are 3 of them. I believe cryptography is the most powerful one. We worked on this topic for maybe around 5 years. So based on my understanding, there is a few fundamental challenges in privacy research. Number 1, measurement of privacy. Now, if you say, I want more privacy, then we need to, especially when you do the personalized privacy, then you need to measure the privacy requirement of Alice or Bob. How can you measure the privacy? It is a big problem, my friends. It's not a computer science problem. It should be a cross-discipline problem. We should combine psychology, social science with computer science to do the measurement, right? Second challenge is we lack modeling tools for big data, because privacy is a problem in the background for privacy is big data. Because of big data, we have privacy problem. So if you want to research privacy, you need to model the big data. However, at this moment, we do not have good tools to do the modeling for big data. Number 3, we lack tools for privacy study. Currently, the only tool we have is differential privacy. Of course, cryptography, AI, there are other tools. we may need to improve them, trim them to suit to meet the requirement of big data privacy research. Okay, that's the three fundamental challenges, I think, in big data privacy. Okay, folks, I think that's all from me. Thank you very much. I do welcome you to visit Sydney, visit UTS, and also looking forward for your possible collaboration, if possible. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Professor, for a very insightful and remarkable session. So we have, now the session is open for question and discussions. So firstly, we'll take questions from the panelist. Or any comments from the panelist. So we have Prashant sir as chair of IEEE Communication Society Delhi Section Chapter. So sir, any comments from your side?
Yes, please. So I'm Prashant Chok. So on behalf of IEEE Communication Society Delhi Chapter, firstly, I thank Professor Shui for an excellent talk and on a very important topic of cybersecurity and privacy. So, sir, regarding the talk, I have one or two questions. This is regarding that privacy part of the talk. So the last slides mentioned the research topics in privacy as measurement of privacy, then lack of modeling tools, and the lack of tools for privacy study. So I would like if you can throw some more light on whether some parameters for measurements are already there and what work is further happening. And similarly, the tools, what tools are being used for privacy studies. So I want you to throw some more light on this aspect of privacy research challenges.
Sorry, can you make your question again? So you want me to introduce some tools?
Yeah, I will like you to throw some more light, some more elaboration on this slide on the modeling tools and the methods used for measurement of privacy.
Okay, thank you very much for the question is very good, right? And so I actually have because as you know, you mentioned the distinguished lecture, so I do have another talk about privacy. In that talk, I put more information about these three parts, but I can quickly summarize this. So currently, for the privacy measurement, all the measurement are used. We have is indirect measurement. For example, use information theoretical measures. For example, the variation of entropy, the change of entropy to measure the relative change of privacy. For example, when we take some action, then the entropy changed how much in this way to do the privacy measurement. But my finding is that so far there is no direct measurement on privacy. If I give you all the data of a person, you give me the answer what's his or her privacy. Now, at this moment, we do not have this kind of measurement because it's very hard. I truly believe it is a cross-discipline target. If we want to do this, we need to integrate computer science with psychology, social science, or other disciplines to target the problem. I think this is my answer for the first question. The second question you asked, what are the tools for modeling, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. I think my understanding is usually people will look at the tools we have and try to see if we change the current tools to improve the current tools to solve the new problem, right? So based on my understanding, usually the first tool people use is graph theory. We use graph theory to modeling a big data set. For example, the social network, everyone is a node. Then if we are good friends, then between you and me, there is an age. And then if we are very close friends, the weight of the age is higher, right? Then we use graph theory to do the modeling. However, the graph theory cannot deal with the dynamic feature of social networks or internet. So that's, I see a lot of people, especially the top universities, they are working on this. How can we solve the dynamic feature of the graph theory? Of course, another tool from algebra, people use a tensor, which is come from differential geometry, to deal with the high dimension data modeling. Of course, statistics is another tool. However, traditional statistics used to, they do not care about a small probability, right? For example, you buy a toss lotto, you win the toss lotto's probability is very small. That's called a small probability. People don't care. But in the big data case, people do need to research on small probability. So we do have traditional tools. It's called sorry, the term is on the top of my tongue, but I cannot make it. A large deviation, okay, called a large deviation. It's a tool in probability theory. Of course, there's a lot of tools. What people are doing, but the existing tools that do not fit what we want. So we need to change them, improve them. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And you already mentioned, I suppose, that cryptography is the current popular tool. And I think in cryptography, this homomorphic encryption is like picking up fast for privacy protection, basically. When you have to do privacy protection, as well as you want to use the data for some AI modeling as well, then homomorphic encryption is fast picking up, I suppose.
Yeah, yes, you're right. Because people want to use new tools, for example, differential privacy to solve the privacy problem. But the reality is the differential privacy is not cannot solve everything, right? When we look back, the cryptography is still the first option. That's my understanding.
Yes, thank you very much. So
Yes, thank you.
I hand over to the other panelists, and I also encourage all students and professionals to join IEEE Communication Society. There are many useful talks by local chapters and student branches as well. And also the students who are IEEE members can become ComSoc members by just paying US $1. Some scheme is going on currently. Thank you. Over to the other panelists.
Thank you.
Yes, so any question or discussion from the panelists?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Professor Shui, you know, I'm just as a layman comparing this aspect to the physical security that we have, policing and all, the social crimes. So I'm wondering that, you know, there it is the human expertise probably that prevails. So in this case, are there any delays in, you know, acquiring the methodologies of criminals and then implementing them? And so are we caught in some rat race? Are we able to catch them?
Okay. Good question. Thank you very much for the question. I think my understanding is shallow, right? But I think at this moment it's hard to fight against the cyber criminals, especially to bring them to justice. Because first, when we talk about traceback, we only trace back to the ISP. We cannot for example, if I'm in Australia, I only can trace back there is an ISP somewhere in India, right? But I cannot identify which computer that hacker used. So if I want not to know what's the computer, I need the cooperation of the administrator of that ISP. So that's there's a lot of difficulties, and also the hackers, they are very smart. Usually they use some stepstones. Say they jump to the America, then jump to India, and then from one city from India, then jump to another city, and then attack the servers in Australia, for example. So in this way, it is hard for us to deal with them. They use the cryptography methods very well to encrypt their message. So it's not easy. I think if we want to deal with them, not only use computer science technologies, we also need to use the other disciplines methodology. For example, criminal psychology, right? Other kind of discipline knowledge to help us to, or we help them to trace back to the hackers.
Another aspect, any statistical data available of how much damage is generally caused and how long it takes to recover? Are there quick fixes, or we have to wait for some long-term solutions? So what are the experiences of such attacks?
Oh, that question is very good, my friend, but I don't know the answer. I think there's a different kind of attacks. The damages are varies, right? Thank you.
Yes. Any more questions? Any more questions from the panelists?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Professor Shui. It's a very enlightening, very informative lecture. Sir, actually, like cybersecurity in IoT landscape has become a big challenge, although it's a bit off topic because security in IoT itself is a very wide area.
Yeah.
But I just wanted your view, like if you can suggest few tips for, say, IoT device developer and the IoT network administrators to deal with such kind of issues.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, it is an excellent comment or question. IoT security is a big one. I think it's a big headache for researchers as well, because on the internet you can use cryptography, but for the IoT, because of the devices, the capability is very limited. So the traditional cryptography methods, we cannot use it. So IoT devices are very vulnerable for attackers. But based on my understanding, the progress in IoT security is very limited. I think research community may, at this moment, may not have good methods to deal with the IoT attack or fix the vulnerability of IoT devices.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, so next, Rishabh will take the questions from the chat box. Over to you, Rishabh.
Okay, thank you, sir, for a wonderful talk first. Okay, there is one question from Gaurav. What about the response time for mitigating the cyber attack on any industrial control system or any physical cyber physical system?
Can you repeat the question again?
What about the response time for mitigating the cyber attack on any industrial control system or any cyber physical system?
Oh, I do not have the answer for this specific question. So I think it varies, right? So I do not have the answer. Sorry for that.
We can move on to the next question.
Yes.
What about the security and privacy issues in mobile cloud computing?
For mobile cloud computing.
Yes, mobile cloud computing.
Okay, I think in the last 10 years, researchers did a lot of security work in cloud using cryptography, right? So now the cloud, now I believe cloud security is, it becomes not that hot. So the hot topic becomes the fog computing, or someone call it cloud fog, edge computing. So in this kind of distributed systems, we have a lot of new security and privacy problems. For example, now the current popular one called federated data mining. That's the purpose is, okay, when we do data mining, we want in the traditional way, we collect data from different companies and put it in a centralized server and then do the data mining, right? But now, because of GDPR, the data, you cannot move the data from, say, Bombay to New Delhi. You cannot do that. So you can only do the local data mining. So they have the federated learning. I think there's introduced a lot of new problems and new challenges. So the fog computing, I believe, is the next wave in security and privacy research in computing domain.
Okay, sir. Next question is from Shui. Which are the statistical tools that can be used in the analysis of cybersecurity issues?
Well, I think all the tools can be used. The problem is how accuracy it is, right?
Okay.
My understanding and my suggestion for the students is, you know what, now when we write science students, when we write papers, we do not have equations, or our equations are not good enough. The problem is, I found, is that we do not have a very good capability in terms of mathematical modeling. So if you want to improve this, then we should read the mathematical modeling books to improve our skill. Then, for example, if you understand statistics better and better, then your modeling will be better and better. Does this answer your question? Thank you.
Next question is from Hemraj. Since we are moving from traditional cryptography to lightweight cryptography or authorization, what are the possible point of concerns in this transition?
Yeah, well, I have to confess, I'm not very clear about the light-weighted cryptography. But my understanding is, it seems that the progress is limited, not as we expected. I think there is you can, in general sense, the cryptography based on complexity, time complexity, right? So if you want to a lighted weighted encryption or decryption, actually against the time complexity mechanism. So it is that's the reason it is hard. The progress is very limited in the light-weighted cryptography. That's my understanding. All right.
Okay, so there is one more connected question to IoT from Aryan. So he's asking, since your team is working on IoT based cryptography, what are the challenges generally do you face regarding these?
The challenges in IoT cryptography.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's because I didn't work too much on this domain, but I think that's the core, as we discussed, the core issue is the light-weighted cryptography. Can we achieve it or not? We don't know yet. Of course, if you want to deal with it, you also need to understand your opponent. You need to understand their computing capability, right? If their computing capability is very limited, then of course it's easier to implement. If their computing power is very high, then you will be vulnerable to them.
Okay, sir. Next question is from Mr. Piyush. If we install honeypot in our network, then how much we avoid these DDoS attacks?
You are talking about the DDoS attacks?
Yes.
What's the question again?
So if he was asking, if we install the honeypot in our network, then how to avoid this DDoS attack? What is the rate of success of the honeypot?
Okay, yeah, that's a very good question. Honeypot is it is a method to deal with DDoS, but I'm working in the academic area. I didn't run the industry honeypot project, so I cannot give you the exact number. But I do know honeypot is a way to deal with it.
Okay, sir. No problem. Can you comment on the game theory of different players in case of a non-cooperative stance? Has someone doing some studies of game theory on cybersecurity?
Well, another good question. Yes, there is in terms of game theory, you want to try to find a balance between the two sides, right? Yeah, there's a lot of work on game theory to find the minimal investment for each party for defense. If you do not invest sufficient, then we will all become vulnerable to the attack. Yes, the simple answer is yes. A lot of game theory methods are used in cybersecurity.
Okay. So next one is from Manish Bahaskar. Do you really think one day we will able to quantify privacy for everyone? Because privacy level differs depending on data. Like everyone would want high privacy for financial data, but not so high level on social platforms. Then how can we give the privacy number to an individual? It's a big question.
Yeah, it's a very good question, but at this moment, I think we are in the community. We are not very clear. At least for myself, we are not clear yet. But that's the reason why we need to jump into this area to do research, right?
Okay.
Okay, so as we are running short of time, so that's all the questions we'll take. So to wind up with the session, I request Sardana sir for a vote of thanks. So Prashant sir, I think sir has some network issue. So by the time you can give your concluding remarks.
Okay, thank you. So
Okay.
just I wanted to comment on some discussion which was happening on the lightweight cryptography. So since some questions were about lightweight cryptography, so I just have some information that in the US there is an agency called NIST which has done the standardization of most of the cryptographic algorithms. So it was doing lightweight cryptography standardization, some competition it was holding last 3-4 years it started. And now round 2 candidates are also finalized, and by September 2020 they plan to finalize the final candidates for this lightweight cryptography. So this is for the benefit of some questions which were about lightweight cryptography. So I thought it may be useful. So otherwise, the whole VCCS 2020 has been very good, and the IEEE AcSIR-CSIO Nanotechnology Student Branch Chapter and AcSIR-CSIO Student Branch Chandigarh both have organized it very well, very professionally. I thank you on behalf of Communication Society Delhi chapter. And all the speakers, all the 3 days talks have been meticulous. I hope it has been very good learning for all the students and professionals who have been listening through all these talks, and there must be a lot of enhancement in their knowledge. So final, I think, vote of thanks, Professor Sardana. Is he back?
Joining in a minute. Face some network issue at. Okay. I also want to thank Professor Shui for accepting our invitation to the talk, and all the participants who joined us for all the 3 days. And thank you for being there. And due to the support of the participants, only the event becomes successful, and the speakers as well. And thank you, Dr. Shui, for sharing the insights on the privacy challenges and the opportunities in the field of cybersecurity.
Thank you very much for your kind invitation. I'm honored to know more Indian friends and welcome you guys to visit Sydney if it is convenient for you. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. In the meanwhile, Sardana sir join. I share a certificate of recognition and appreciation from our side.
Thank you very much.
This is certificate of recognition and appreciation from our society and from our student branch for accepting our invitation for delivering a very insightful session. So I believe sir has some